I am DM Zone. This is Gamers Oasis. Let's get into it. Alright guys, we're going to talk about the third and fourth mega crafting session that I've done with the Brukite on Calypso. This is the second video I've done on this. I'm breaking them down by pairing up the crafting sessions because I feel like it's not enough for one and two is about right, but 3 or 4 would be too much. It's got this nice length of video. I think that's really good where you can get the information out there, but it's not so bulky that it's lost in all the length of the video. Okay, so crafting. So I'm doing 5,000 click crafting runs. The reason why I'm doing this much at one time is because I want to eliminate the concept or the theory that by starting or stopping a crafting session too soon, that you eliminate the opportunity for something to develop over time. So one of the theories is if you only do 1,000 click runs, you'll never per se cook long enough for the good one to kick off. Now a 5,000 click run is an extensively long run. That would be anything longer than that probably be unreasonable for a game designer to expect people to want to do. I'll probably do some sort of test later to see if I prove that there's any benefit for going from 5,000 to 10,000 clicks. But that is a huge test that I'm not willing to take at this point in time. So instead, I'm going to do a total of 10 5,000 click runs, and we'll just see where it takes us. Okay, but what have I found? Well, for example, I found that certain BPs tend to drop at least once in this length of crafting, and some drop several times during this length of crafting. The question is, though, is that valuable to me or not? Does the blueprint have markup? Does the blueprint have the ability to be crafted? Is it a difficult thing to craft, to harvest, to farm, to how much resources it take to get? How much resource is it to save and not spend? Because, if let's say it costs a ped for one of the skins, right? And it requires 2 skins. Well, that's 2 ped per click. Well, that's a lot, yes. But if you're trying to get 1,000 of those so you can do it, well, that means you just have sitting around 2,000 ped worth of skins that you've not sold, which is money you've not cycled, which is how much have you actually spent hunting these things. Like, good Lord. That is a reasonable thing to be like, I don't know if I want to do that blueprint right now. So I'm doing the Brukite stone textures on Calypso. This is not going to be anything major in cost or crafting and that type of stuff. It runs about 89.5 ped for a 5,000 click run, which is not terrible for what it is. That's with markup. But there are some things to take into consideration. So this gives me sort of the baseline. As I go up in value, I'll see the growth, I'll see the direction in which it goes. But it also lets me know what to expect. So when I take this stone texture to other places and I run it again, and I see deviance off of what I expect, then I know this place is different. This place has this extra blueprint, which may or may not be more valuable than other places. It won't take me 50,000 clicks probably to get there unless I'm looking for something ultra rare. But based upon the blueprints I see available, unless there's unknown blueprints out there, I wouldn't have to run that much to see if that particular blueprint drops. What makes a limited blueprint valuable? Well, there's a couple things. If you see a blueprint that has a lack of demand or a lack of markup, you have to kind of ask why. And if on the reverse of that, if you think a blueprint's not worth anything, and yet you see a limited blueprint with markup, you have to find out why that has that markup. There are some things that make it have more demand. Things like you can get this off of more than one thing. It's not limited to a particular type of creature. Wool would be an example. Silk, this type of stuff. These things are going to, stone that you mine are going to be things that might have more value because they're easier to get. Now, let's take Listerium. Listerium has places where you can go and harvest just Listerium. That means every time you drop a probe, every time you do your thing, you're getting Listerium when it hits. That means that the Listerium blueprint could be worth a lot more because literally you can target it specifically, and it's not extraordinarily hard to get the thing you need to get. Whereas if you're doing some other that's a little higher level, a little bit more random, it's not specifically in a certain area, the blueprint might have a lot of value to a person with that stone, but to a person who's just perusing by may not have that value, if that makes sense. So there are hidden blueprints in that way that would be worth crafting that don't have the markup because it takes that precision to get that. If you were to stumble upon that, if you were to buy a bunch when it's cheap, or you were to haul for a global on that, and then you went and did the blueprint, then that would be an interesting turn of events, shall we say. So what do you do with a blueprint that doesn't have good markup, doesn't have good resale, not being sold very often? You have to kind of TT it. So that is the baseline for what the blueprint is valued at. That is a horrible place to be. If you could avoid getting that blueprint and get something else instead, that would be worth it, which is why I'm doing the test I'm doing with Brukite Stone, because doing this to get the things I want versus not the things I want in the long term should pay off. So with Brukite's stone texture, here's what I can say so far. The most productive blueprints that I get from running this at 5,000 clicks each run is the Combibo, the Gravador, the Fuga Barba, the Prancer leathers, I should say. All these are leather blueprints. They all drop off of animals. They all have different levels of success when trying to get the components you need to be able to run these blueprints. They require different extractors. Those are more common or less common. Those are things you're going to want to factor in whether or not you're going to run these. Things like drop rate, difficulty to farm, how hard it is to turn the raw material into an actual component, if people are selling them already, or the components, the raw components, that type of stuff. What they look like can also be a part of this if you're making it to fit a garment, a wardrobe, a spaceship, whatever, or a vehicle. All those things are things that could have value. Now, when we get this new Unreal Engine 5, I think the last one's going to be more important than it is currently, which could adjust the prices. This means that you could try and research these on forums and websites and do a little hunting to test the waters and, do your standard research if there's anything to be had. The problem is most people who are deep into these blueprints know this already, don't necessarily post this specifically online, and it would require a lot to really know the answers to that. That is why I'm kind of making these videos. So if you're getting value out of these, please give me a like and comment down below how or what part of this video was the most impactful to you. So it helps the algorithm and it helps me know what people are appreciating from my videos. I thank you for doing that. I like to consider this hunt for the item, the component, versus more of the hunt of the creature. if that makes sense. So if I know that this particular maturity drops this component more regularly, and that's the thing I'm hunting it for, then that needs to weigh heavily on my decision for which maturity I'm hunting. I don't want to necessarily hunt the highest maturity that costs the most time and ped to kill. If a lower maturity drops the component I'm looking for, and there's no big reason to hunt the higher maturity. For example, mocots. If you were to go hunt and you're trying to get the warp drive component, then you need to hunt that very specific thing. But if you're just trying to go there and hunt for the carpentry components or the jelly, then you have different maturities you're looking at. For example, jelly only drops off of juveniles. If you're trying to get the components, you can hunt the juveniles, or you could go hunt the lower ones and be just fine and really run through them faster and for longer than you could the higher level ones. Another thing to take into consideration is the blueprint level of that you're hunting and what that means. So if you're doing a fine frizz fabric, which requires a very common component that drops off of a lot of different things, a lot of humanoids, then, and you have the extractor to go with it, then that is a really good one because it's third level. No longer are you limited to fourth level and below blueprints coming back to you. Now you can have fifth and sixth level blueprints coming back to you. And that could expand what you're trying to do and unlock new blueprints for you. It also gives you a higher level of the limited blueprints, which you could start building up, which may not be worth anything to you because of the cost of which to run that blueprint, but you could sell it for a higher amount, most likely, than you can the lower level ones. Now this is excluding the super ultra rare ones like the Eomon and the Longtooth and that type of stuff, which have insane markups. Another way you can try and do this too is to offer a beneficial flat rate for the item and have people go out and hunt. You can also put up buy orders where you are paying maybe more than the market, but what it does is it ensures that it goes to you versus you having to compete with other people to get that. So for example, if I'm wanting a particular leather and it's a 109% markup, but there's only like 2 head worth on the auction for this month. Well, people are hunting it. People are selling it for 109. If I offered 115 and put a 10 ped evaluation on that, would people go hunt that to then pay that to me? And if I were to do that and put 100 ped out there for people to do that, would I get a whole group of people doing that? And maybe would they come to me and ask to pay that in the future too? And if they did that and I said, you know what, because you contacted me because you want to be a hunter that brings us to me, instead of paying you 115, I'll pay you 118%. I'll give you a 3% markup for that because I want you to do this. Now you might, every time you land on Calypso or Toulon, have a person who is waiting to meet you there with 20 ped worth of this hide that they've been saving for 6 months, because I know they're going to get an extra 3% from you when you get there. That has value to you and it has value to them, especially as the years go on and people know that you're good, that you're going to come back, that you're going to do this thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the third mega craft run. In this particular one, I made 65.74 ped in TT. As I said before, it takes about 89.5 ped after markup if you were to buy everything. Now, I didn't buy everything. I have found a huge number of Brukite over the years, but I just figured this out as if I had to buy it all. If I were to sell the Brukite stone textures versus taking those textures and crafting them onto like a tone so I can raise my skill just a little bit higher, I get about 4.5 ped worth of profit off of 22, 23 ped worth of stone texture. So what I end up losing is between 5 and 10 ped if I were to sell all the blueprints I got. However, more likely it's going to be closer to 19 ped negative, since I'm not selling all those blueprints at this time. I'm holding these blueprints until I better understand them, and then I will sell them. So it's sort of like a delayed, not gratification, but a delayed returning of my ped as I understand and know what I'm losing or what I'm eliminating as far as opportunities go, and decide whether this is the right choice for me or not. With the third run done, that means I have 15,000 clicks. With that amount of clicks, I can now separate out which blueprints are common and which ones are other. In the other group, you have uncommon, rare, and ultra rare, and maybe even something like a mythological level blueprint that could drop. However, I don't really know which one is uncommon and rare just by 15,000, because even at 15,000, if you were to do 5 blueprints per 1,000, that's only 75 blueprints. Well, there's almost more than 75 blueprints within that range of 1st to 4th level between unlimited and limited. So how in the world am I going to know if something dropped once and it was like ultra rare, or if I got 2 drops and whether that's common or uncommon? Really, I mean, it could be that these things are going to shift as I go, or could shift as I go. But there are some that are pretty clearly common. You see them every time you do it. Every time you do 5,000, you see, over a ped every time you do it, which means you probably got more than 1 drop of it. So yeah, you can tell that, but knowing what's beyond that is the difficult part. So it's just good to keep that in mind when you're crafting, so you know what you're jumping into, so that you know what you're landing on when you get there. You might stumble onto an ultra rare and not know it because it was one of the first ones. So you have to be careful until you understand really what you have, what you sell, because people would take advantage of that if they had this opportunity to. It's like hunting for a hawk, though. That's not necessarily the business plan you want to take on. Super high risk with random low potential of getting a reward, but if you do, the reward is massive. And how and what factors affect that aren't clearly known. Sounds like something you would actually want to avoid in most situations. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the 4th mega crafting run and kind of wrap up this video. In this particular one, I got 74.41 ped for running this crafting run. Again, I'll make about 4.5 ped for the textures after markup. That means I'm about 10 ped short if I didn't sell anything. It also means I probably break even if I did sell everything. And if I got one of the super rare limited ones like the long tooth or the Eomon limited blueprints, then that'd probably be just straight profit. Sadly, I don't have that kind of luck. That happens less often with me, I think, than some other people. But I'm still holding on to all these blueprints to hopefully find something in the future. And I'm holding on to a few of the unlimited ones because I feel like the market's going to change at some point in time for certain blueprints like generic leather. Because there's going to be an influx in people coming to this particular type of crafting in the future. So I'm delaying myself again in how much I pay myself back by holding these extra blueprints versus selling them. And when I do start to sell them, I'm going to have to be very patient because not only do I need to learn the things I need to learn about them, which I've already discussed, but let's say I have 35 PED worth of a blueprint. Most people don't want to buy 35 PED worth of a blueprint. That is a live clicks. So I'm going to break those blueprints up. I'm going to have to sell them. I can't sell the 10, 15 different limited blueprints I have that I'd want to sell all at the same time because the market's not going to be that big. Also, if the market does shift and a bunch of people come into the market, what I have now could be worth more in the future, which is part of the why I'm holding on to these blueprints. However, I'm sure there are a lot of people that are holding blueprints for the same thing. So I'm not banking my entire investment scheme on that because I'm not Mr. Deep Pockets on this. There will be someone out there who has well over 100 PED of the same blueprint I have 35 PED in. And by the time I'm done, I might have that 100 PED, but there'll still be a person with 1,000 PED of that same blueprint. I believe that very strongly. So I'm not going to try and compete with them. I'm going to make mine where and when I can, when I realize which ones I want to sell. So I'm going to have to take time between what I sell. I'm going to have to take time and how many I sell. This means I have to be patient on top of patient, or I'm going to be foolish in how I sell all these things. So okay guys, this is my video. This is my second one on the Brukite stone. Again, if you like this video, please give me a like down below. I appreciate it. And if you want to see more videos like this, look for the future, hit that little bell for notification. Next week's video on crafting is going to be about season 1 my crafting. I'm going to break it down to about half the content of what I would want to talk about, doing the explosive projectile 1 on 2 on 30 days in a row. There's a lot to cover in there. I don't feel like I want to do that all in one video, so I'm going to break that in half and then do the other half. And then when I come back, I will have 5 and 6 crafting run done, and then we'll take a little bit of a break on the crafting stuff, and then I'll do the 7 and 8, and then I'll do the 8, 9, and 10, wrapping everything up at the end of all this. We have a lot more to come, and we'll see where this takes us. If I don't get a big response, and I don't think people are into this, I'll shift to a different direction. But I kind of wanted to get the season of crafting and this crafting thing done before shifting off of that. So let me know what you guys think down below. I appreciate it. You guys have a great day and keep earning that PED. Bye.